And happy Friday to you. Bob Schieffer here, and we're talking about what happens now first in Massachusetts. Who's going to fill the Kennedy shoes? Then we're going to talk to Dan Boltz, who has a new book about Campaign '08 and some real inside stories on that front. But to start, Jennifer Palmieri, who is a Democratic strategist, has worked in a lot of Democratic campaigns, is here with us. Doug Heye is a Republican strategist. And I want to ask both of you what's going on up in Massachusetts, because we had this very unusual law there. The governor can't appoint somebody to fill that seat. They have to wait something like 140-something days, maybe it'd be January before they could appoint somebody. And we should point out in the beginning, Jennifer, this didn't used to be the case. It was the case after John Kerry decided to run for the presidency, and they wanted to make sure Mitt Romney couldn't appoint a Republican to fill that seat. So that's when this law went into effect. Doug, now they're talking about changing the law. And, you know, with the big majorities they have up there in the Massachusetts legislature, my guess is that's practically a done deal.
It absolutely is a done deal. There's no way the Democrats in Massachusetts, you look at their congressional delegation, 100% Democratic. There's no way they're not going to change this law and probably change it pretty quickly. The fact that they changed the law to not allow Mitt Romney the power to appoint if John Kerry had won and now want to do a total 180 on this really speaks to why Americans are cynical about politics and politicians. But that aside, they'll get this done very quickly as soon as they have time to.
Well, Jennifer, do you think this is a cynical act?
Well, I think that it's a little bit embarrassing for the Democrats in Massachusetts, but the man who coined the phrase "all politics is local," being from Boston, it also has a pretty short horizon, I think, in Boston. So I think that it's a little bit uncomfortable for them that they have to undo what they did in 2004. I know it was unpopular, certainly, with editorial boards and whatnot in 2004 when they made this change to protect John Kerry's seat. But I think that this is what the Democrats, this is what Massachusetts voters probably want. There is really important stuff happening in Congress. Massachusetts probably should be represented, so I think they'll do it. Although there's a lot of politics even within the Massachusetts state legislature. I know that the Democrats there are concerned about retribution from Republicans and other things they want to do. So it's a little messy, but I think it'll get done.
The significance on the national scale, of course, is the Democrats in the Senate want to have that vote. They need that vote now because you've got health care coming up. And with Senator Byrd, very ill at this time, they really only have 58 Democrats rather than the 60 that they were, which would be the veto-proof Senate. But why shouldn't they do this, Doug?
I think they should. Just for the reason you point out, there's a Senate seat short. We've got a lot of issues, not just healthcare, but a lot of issues that are facing the country that are dramatically important. And it's important to have that seat filled just as quickly as possible. Of course, there will be a time, there's always a time period between somebody being replaced. We just saw today with Governor Christ making the appointment in Florida. It's not a turnkey immediate transition. But it still is an issue that, as Jennifer points out, is embarrassing for them. But the reality is, once it's done, that will stop being embarrassing, by day 2 or 3.
And it's interesting. I haven't seen, at least yet, I don't think, any Republicans in the Senate or at the national level expressing concern about this. I mean, because Harry Reid is definitely going to need every vote that he can get. So I could see the Republicans in the United States Senate raising objections to this, but you haven't seen that, which I guess just speaks to people wanting to.
Well, and you also don't want to appear to be political at this time when it comes down to take Kennedy's seat.
And they all love Senator Kennedy so much. Yeah.
There is a lot of talk, and I'm not sure how seriously I take it, that Senator Kennedy's death will somehow change the debate and the tone of the debate, that that'll be let's do this for Teddy kind of spirit in the Senate. Do you think that's going to happen, Doug?
I think Democrats have to be very careful about how they do this. I talked to a friend in Boston yesterday who said that he was watching the organizing for the healthcare rally and then said, Kennedy procession. We go back to Paul Wellstone's funeral. It really backfired on Democrats. I was reading Daily Kos yesterday talked about passing health care reform, immigration, and a third issue that I forget at this time, but they refer to it as the Teddy trifecta. You have to be very careful about how you proceed, because if this is then win one for, we say in Republicans, win one for the Gipper. If they go overboard, absolutely, if they go overboard with trying to do this for Ted Kennedy, it really can backfire and can change their debate in a way they really don't want.
Well, but of course, Lyndon Johnson talked about let's do it for John Kennedy when he got some monumental civil rights bills passed. That was not the only thing that caused it to pass, but it certainly was part of it.
I think it's telling that the president and what he has said has not brought that. He has not brought health care up. He hasn't said, and now we need to move forward in this. And I think that's probably a smart thing to do in his. But I think that the sides are so dug in, and not necessarily in a cynical way. I think people feel really strongly on both sides of this issue that it's just, I think that his passing isn't going to be enough to pull people. And certainly, if it is going to affect people, it's not going to affect people because you were told to do that. It's going to be a personal thing. But
Politico had an article today. I'm sorry. That said that this whole debate may change how blue dogs and moderate Democrats vote on this. But I think it's really difficult to see what blue dogs are identified, because it certainly won't change how their constituents feel about it. Now, I'm from North Carolina, and I look at a freshman member, Larry Kissel, who narrowly won his election. His voters are not going to be swayed on this because of Ted Kennedy's passing.
All right. Well, we have to leave it there. Thanks to both of you for some very interesting points. I think the bottom line here for our viewers is that in short order, the law is going to be changed in Massachusetts, and somebody is going to be appointed to fill out.
And to what you said earlier, they'll fill the seat, but you're never going to fill his shoes.
Yeah.
Thanks to both of you.